Hi everybody, welcome to Yoga Live. My name is Deanna. I am the director of the wellness department at G-Bon in Buffalo, New York. And today I'm going to lead you through a nice, easy, slow flow yoga. It's going to be about 30 minutes, really just to focus on our breath, keeping our minds in the present moment and what really truly matters in this crazy world, and get our bodies warmed up. And in the end, it'll really reduce our pain in our joints. If you're experiencing chronic pain, it'll help even lower your blood pressure. There's other clinical markers that'll help improve. It also will help improve your mental health. So really focusing on your breath and really connecting each breath with each movement throughout the rest of the practice is what matters here in yoga. It's not about how deep you could go in a pose, how far you can reach your toes. It's really about the journey throughout the entire practice and finding some good entities and dedications to devote your practice to help push you along. And with that, it helps practice positivity, good vibes. And in the end, really reduce anxiety, depression. So please have a nice soft surface, like a yoga mat or a fitness mat. Even a rug that's firm on the ground would be great. We just don't want it slipping and sliding around. And what else? If you want to play some music, that'd be really nice. Just as long as you hear my voice so you can hear the cues in the proper alignment. So this way you're not causing any injury to yourself. So if something doesn't feel good and something feels wonky, just come out of it, come into child's pose or downward facing dog, which I'll show you in the beginning of practice today. And don't push yourself to the point where you're in pain. You may feel a little tension, but that's you opening up places that you haven't in a while, just to loosen things up. So we will start on our backs in Supta Baddha Konasana. So laying flat on the ground, flat spine, opening your knees out wide. If you have a pillow nearby, you can place it in the back of your shoulders to really open up your chest if you want more heart opening, since we tend to hunch a little bit throughout our days when we're on our computers and our phones. So you can place it right anywhere above on the upper back or shoulder blades. If not, just open your knees out wide, bring the soles of your feet together, and play around where you bear your feet. So if this is a little tense for you in your hips, you could bring your feet further away from your hips, and that will release some tension. You can place your right hand on your heart and your left hand on your belly. And start to close your eyes. Start to notice the sound and the rhythm of your breath. Noticing how short your breaths may be, or how long and fluid your breaths are. And make any adjustments necessary so that you're really taking in enough air to feel the sensation in your chest fill up, your belly expand. And with each exhale through the nose, feeling your belly soften, your chest sink in, making each breath conscious, fluid, and flow right into one another. Feeling the chest rise with the inhale through the nose, feeling it with your right hand as your chest fills up. Your left hand, feel the belly. Exhale, feel the belly hollow, and your chest come down. Take this time to make a dedication or an intention for your practice, whether it's something you're trying to work on, physically, mentally, a positive quote that resonates with you, that you like to tell yourself every day to keep you here in the now, to focus on what matters, telling yourself good things about yourself. Or whether it's a person, someone you're thinking about overseas, or somebody downstate. You know, my grandparents I haven't seen in a while, so I like to dedicate my practice to them. And you're always dedicating your practice for yourself. But something else to drive you through this positive time for yourself. Bringing good energy throughout the world, to you and each other. Ujjayi breaths will be continued throughout the duration of the practice, which are inhales and exhales through the nose with a slight constriction on the back of the throat, which sounds like a wave or as if you're Darth Vader. Nothing too forced. You could even make it audible. Or as if you're fogging up a mirror with your mouth closed. And wherever you are in your breath, I want you to exhale, exhale, exhale. We'll take a cleansing breath, which helps release heat from the body if you ever need to slow down your breath. So take the deepest inhale through your nose, the biggest breath of the day, filling up your chest, filling up your belly, fill up. Hold at the top, and then wide open mouth, exhale it out. Inside out. Return to your normal breaths, in and out through the nose. Release your legs down in front of you, side by side. Inhale your arms up overhead for a full body stretch, stretching through the fingertips, through the tips of your toes. Feel like your shoulders come up by your ears. And on an exhale, hug your knees into your chest, come into a tight little ball, but keep your shoulders down on the mat. Go ahead and make some hip circles on the ceiling by grabbing on the top of your knees and opening your hips in a circle and then closing them together. Making little circles on the ceiling. You could do one at a time or you could do both. Just working into those hip flexors where we hold a lot of emotion and a lot of tension since we're always sitting or we're biking and having closed hips for the majority of our days. Interlace your fingers right below the right knee and extend your left leg down on your mat with your toes flexed towards your face, and hug your right knee towards your right armpit, avoiding the rib cage. And really use your arm muscles and hug your elbows close to your body to pull your right knee towards that armpit, opening up that right hip flexor. You'll feel a little pinch, a little tension, but this is good to work it out. Keeping that left leg planted on the mat. Shoulders down, away from the ears. Take an inhale wherever you are. And on your exhale, supine twist, send your right knee across your body over to the left side of the room, stacking hips on top of each other, and extend your right arm to the side of you with your eye gaze at your right thumb. With each inhale, lengthening up and out of the waist through the crown of your head to the wall behind you. And on an exhale, twist a little deeper towards the left. Hug your right knee in close to your body, come back to center. And release your right leg down on the earth. Interlace your fingers now below the left knee and hug your left knee towards your left armpit. Avoiding that rib cage, hug those elbows in tightly. Inhale up and out of the waist through the crown of your head. Slightly bring your chin to your chest to lengthen the neck. And on your next exhale, send your left knee across your body to the right, stacking hips on top of each other. Extending the left arm to the left side of the room with your eye gaze at your left thumb. Letting the weight of your left knee fall to the right to open up the backside body for that twist. You don't have to force your right hand on your left knee. There should be no forcing. But sometimes if you need a little extra deepening of the twist, you can apply gentle pressure. But with each inhale, lengthening, and each exhale, deepening the twist. Reach your left leg back up to center. And bring both legs into tabletop. Lying down. Stacking your knees right over your hips. Your calves are parallel to your mat. Place your arms down like a T at your sides with your palms facing down. Or you can go ahead and place your hands parallel to your mat. And that tends to be a little harder. So go ahead and you can start with a T, see how that feels. And make sure there's no space on your backside body. So you may have to tilt your pelvis up a little bit. Squeeze those abs in order for your spine to be completely flat on your mat. And on an exhale, send your left toes down on the mat, only using your hip flexors, using your abdominal muscles. Don't bend your knees in any way to reach your right toes down. Just alternate each foot, tapping the mat beneath you, using those abs. And like I said, only using those hip flexors and your abs. Because it can be easy to just bend your knee in tabletop and reach the ground. But we want to almost extend that right hip flexor down and then back up. It's important to warm up the abdominal muscles, especially for yoga. You actually become better in your standing balances and in every pose, your form is pristine. Even for handstands. Take one last toe tap. Bring your feet together and extend your legs all the way up towards the ceiling, flexing the toes towards your face. If you have to have a slight bend in the knees, that's fine if you have tight hamstrings. And really try and reach those heels up to the ceiling. Place your hands behind your quadricep muscles, behind your hamstrings, which is right below your kneecaps on the back sides of your legs. And press your hands into your legs and your legs into your hands and really feel the activation of your quadriceps, your hamstrings, even your glutes. As you press your hands into your legs and legs into those hands, feel that active pose and then release for some breaths. So take your own pace to challenge yourself. Active pose, really pressing into one another. And then you can release the tension and just let your legs stay vertical, like up against the imaginary wall. And you can go ahead and now bend your knees back into tabletop. Grab a hold of your hamstrings and lift your shoulders up with a slight round in your spine, like a ball. And you're gonna rock and roll up and down, avoiding your neck and using every inch of your spine to help you roll. Really using your abdominal muscles to help lift you back up. And also keeping yourself rounded really helps as well. And once you rocked and rolled a few times, on the way up, you're going to cross your legs like a pretzel, bring your hands in front of you, and come into your tabletop. Stacking shoulders over your wrists, hips right over your knees. Find a neutral pelvis and neutral spine here. And on an inhale, cow cat. Inhale, open your chest to the front of the room. Keep those fingers spread out long. Tailbone reaches up. And on an exhale, press the earth away from you. Really round that spine. Bring your chin to your chest. Squeeze your abs. Reach your tailbone down to the earth. Really let your head and neck hang heavy for your cat. Inhale, open your heart space to the front of the room. Shoulders down away from the ears as you bring your belly down towards the mat and your tailbone up towards the sky. Keep those fingers spread out wide. Slightly grip with those fingertips. Exhale, cat. Round the spine. Bring your chin to your chest. Go ahead and bring in some organic movement here, or you could just continue in your cows and cats. If you want to rock your head side to side, very gently, nothing drastic.
You can rock your hips side to side, down and up from child's pose to tabletop. If you want to work into the abdominal muscles and have a little bit more of a challenge, you can bring your left shoulder to your left hip at the same time with your hip reaching your left shoulder, and look over your left shoulder, and then vice versa. Look over your right shoulder as you bring your right shoulder towards your right hip. Really feel the C curves as you crunch either sides of your obliques. Tuck your toes beneath you. Press the earth away from you now. So I really want you to protract your shoulders, round your spine like cat, tuck those toes beneath you, and when you're ready, press through those fingertips and through the toes, and lift your knees an inch off the mat, keeping your tailbone down and your abs squeezed. The more you round like cat, the more you're going to be able to lift those knees an inch off the mat. On an exhale, listen carefully. First, step your right foot all the way back, extend it straight. So don't lift the hips up. Keep the tailbone down and just extend the leg behind you. You want to be in a straight line. And then go ahead and do the other one. Come into plank, stacking shoulders over wrist. Come into a whole flat line with your body. Squeeze those glutes. And on an exhale, bring your knees down onto the mat. Good job. Bring your toes together, your big toes together, your knees out wide. And sit your heels on top of your glutes on top of your heels for child's pose. Extend your arms out wide and place your forehead down on your mat. Fingers spread out wide. Glue those glutes to the heels. Sit your belly on top of your thighs. Come back into tabletop. This time, we're going to send our hip points forward so that our shoulders come past the wrist creases. So we want to start with our shoulders over our wrists, but as we send our shoulders past our wrist creases, you'll see that our hips start to fall down. But we don't want to sink our hips like this. We don't want to do that. We want to really activate through the space in between our shoulder blades, our abdominal muscles, sending our shoulders past the wrist creases. Hug the elbows close into the body. Bend the elbows until your chest reaches the earth. Come flat on your bellies. So that was a modified chaturanga, and that's within our flows. Place your thumb in between your the middle of your chest, and on an inhale, open your chest to the front of the room, but keep your glutes on the mat. Your quads on the mat, the tops of your feet on the mat. So really just keep your lower body on the mat and only squeeze with your back muscles to lift your heart space. Exhale, bring your forehead down to the mat. Little or no weight in your hands. Inhale, open your chest to the front of the room. So you can even lift your hands and see if you can use your back muscles to keep you lifted. Exhale, bring your forehead down to the mat. Inhale, lift your chest up. Lower the forehead. We'll come into full cobra now. That was baby cobra. Wherever you want your breath, exhale. On an inhale, press into your hands, only lifting your chest to the front of the room. You may have to walk your hands out a little further away from you if that's feeling a little tense. Or if your hips are lifting up, you're actually in an upward facing dog. But for today's purposes, let's just start with square one, which is a little bit more easier if you do cobra than upward facing dog. Then release your forehead down onto your mat. Tuck your toes beneath you. This is going to be a little bit challenging. Put your hands exactly under your elbows and hug your elbows close to your body. Lift your kneecaps off the mat, squeeze your glutes, look straight down, keep those elbows in, and on an exhale, press into your hands and come up into plank. There should be one flat line. If this isn't accessible to you, come back into downward facing dog. Lift your hips up and back. Feet should be hip width distance apart. Press away from your hands. So a lot of people keep their shoulders stacked over their wrists in downward facing dog. That shouldn't be the case. You really want to bear weight away from your hands so that your belly is on top of your quadriceps. Aim to bring your heels down on the earth. You could bend your knees deeply if you have hamstring tension or lower back pain. Keeping your shoulders in one line and your triceps down towards the mat. So you may have to screw your hand into the mat as if you're screwing on top of a jar. Let your head and neck hang heavy. Don't look in any direction. And go ahead and walk the dog. Lift one heel and then lift the other heel. Working through the calf muscles and the arches of your feet. Inhale, lift your heels all the way up. Come onto your tippy toes. Keep your hips lifted and take tiny steps. I want tiny steps, baby steps. The more steps it takes you, the more you're working your abdominals here. And as you get closer to your hands, bear weight into your fingertips. And then separate your feet hip width distance apart. Once you reach your hands, come into Ragdoll, forward fold. Bending your knees deeply, letting your head and neck hang heavy. We don't want any tension in our face and our neck. So let our cheeks just rise. You can grab onto either elbows. Really let your belly rest on top of those thighs. You can bring movement here, rocking side to side, or straightening one leg and then straightening the other leg. Whatever feels good in your body. That's the whole point. Heel toe your feet together. Bring your hands down on the mat as you do so. Keep your knees slightly bent. Release your arms and head and neck down. Press through the heels as you slightly come up, vertebrae by vertebrae, very slowly. Squeezing those glutes. Keeping your lower body strong as you lift your torso upright. Stacking shoulders over your hips now. Very nice. So this is Tadasana, mountain pose, which is your feet all the way together, glutes, legs up and in, belly up and in. Roll your shoulders back and away from the ears, palms face forward. Pretend somebody's pulling a string on top of your head, so you're really lengthening your entire body. Your chin should be parallel to the floor. Inhale your arms up overhead. Look at your fingertips. And on an exhale, bring your palms together and bring them to heart center. Inhale, lift your arms up. Palms come together. Exhale to heart center. This time we'll go through our sun A's. And remember, always bear weight in all four corners of your feet with a slight lift in your arch. You can even lift all 10 toes before we do sun A, and then lower your toes to find your center. The more you squeeze your glutes, bring your tailbone down, belly up and in, and feel that lengthening notion, and you'll be good to go. Inhale your arms up overhead, palms come together. On exhale, listen carefully. Hinge at the hips, bring your hands to your heart as you fold forward. Flat spine on the way down, release your hands by your feet, bringing your nose to your knees as best you can, letting your head and neck hang heavy. Inhale, bring your hands to your shins for a halfway lift, lengthening your spine and your neck forward. Eye gaze straight down. Exhale, plant your hands down, step into downward facing dog. Push away from your hands, send those hips up. You can bend those knees deeply. Inhale, lift your heels, bend your knees. Exhale, step or hop to the front of the mat. Inhale, hands to shins, halfway lift, flat spine. Exhale, forward fold, hinge at the hips. Inhale, root to rise, arms sweep up by your sides, palms come together. And release them down by your sides. So we are gonna go into one sun B now.
before we wrap this up. So inhale your arms up overhead. So after sun A comes sun B. Inhale your arms up overhead. Exhale, sit your hips down and back. Chair pose. Look down at your knees. Make sure your toes are still visible past the knees. Open your chest a little bit more, sending your shoulders back. Pinkies face in towards each other to activate the arm muscles. Sit a little bit deeper. Keep that tailbone down so there's no curvature in your spine. On an exhale, slightly straighten and come down for a forward fold. Flat spine on the way down, leading with the chest. Inhale, hands to your shins, come up halfway. Exhale, plant your hands down, step into your downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your right heel up, flex the toes towards your face, square those hips. Send energy through your right leg all the way to your right heel. You'll feel the activation through the glutes in the right heel. The more you press your heel towards the wall behind you and lift a little bit up, you'll feel the sensations in your glutes and your hamstrings. And on an exhale, wherever you are, step your right foot in between your hands for warrior one. Plant that left heel down and ankle your left toes at the top left corner of your mat. Keep your right knee over your right ankle. Once you feel grounded first, inhale your arms up overhead, pinkies face in. Keep the hips square to the front of the room. Your hips should be in one straight line. So you shouldn't be open in any way, shape, or form. A lot of people like to do warrior two facing forward, which is really difficult to do. So we want to make sure the left toes are at the top left corner of our mat. Reach that right hip back, that left hip point forward. That's how we can square our hips to the front of the room. Inhale your arms up overhead wherever you are. Exhale, plant your hands to frame your right foot. Step into downward facing dog. Inhale, the left leg lifts. Flex the left toes towards the face. Send energy through the left glute, through the left heel. Squeeze and lift that left leg. And on an exhale, warrior one, send your left foot in between your hands. Plant that right heel down. Angle the right toes at the top right corner of the mat. You may have to step your right foot out a little bit to the right so that your feet aren't in one line. Inhale your arms up overhead. Pinkies face in towards each other. Belly up and in. Lift up and out of the waist. Send the left hip point back and the right hip point forward. And on an exhale, plant the hands to frame the left foot. Step into your downward facing dog. Push away from those hands. Keep those hips lifted. Really try and aim that belly towards the top of the thighs. Inhale, lift the heels, bend the knees. Exhale, step or hop to the front of your mat. Inhale, hands to shins, halfway lift. And on an exhale, forward fold. Hinge at your hips. Bring your nose to your knees. Bring your hands at your side. Separate your feet hip width distance apart. And sit your tush at the bottom of your mat for Malasana squat or yogi squat. So you're going to try and aim to bring your tush to the mat. Keep your feet, your heels on your mat, your toes off the mat. Press your elbows into your knees to open up your chest. Keep that chest lifted. I don't want to see any hunching. You really want to lift up, push into those knees for that little space in the inner thigh. And focus on your breath. Remember those dedications and intentions. Breathe. Sit your glutes down on the mat. Bring your feet together in butterfly. I'll face towards you. Grab your ankles. Lift up and out of the waist. And hinge a little bit forward. Using your arms just slightly, just so you can hinge forward and feel the stretch on your inner groin area, your inner thighs, even a little bit of your outer thighs. But the more you bring your feet away from you, you'll feel more in your outer hips versus your inners. Try not to round here.
But if you want, you can go ahead and round your spine as you pull your spine towards the back wall, shoulders down and away from the ears, kind of like cat in this butterfly position. Would be a nice counter pose
to the forward fold that I just showed you. Just hinging at the hips, flat spine. And wherever you are now, you can kind of round the spine here. As long as you lead with a flat spine as best you can,
then round, that's safer. This way you'll feel the opening of the backside body now. Let your head and neck hang heavy so you're not straining your neck in any way. Come back up.
extend your legs out in front of you, your arms out in front of you. You can spread your fingers out wide, sitting up tall. And on an exhale, round the spine slightly as you squeeze your abdominal muscles, and just using the abdominal muscles to keep you lifted as you slowly bring your spine fully down on the mat. Inhale your arms up overhead for a full body stretch. And exhale, hug your knees into your chest. Release your legs down. We're going to come into an inversion of choice. If you want to follow me through bridge, you can follow me. If not, do the legs against the imaginary wall for a nice inversion, which is your heels all the way up, facing the sky. Your arms out wide or by your sides, and just breathing. So if you want to join me for a little bit more of a challenge, come to bridge, which is our heels as close to our glutes as possible. And we want to be able to brush the backs of our heels with our fingertips. Knees should be pointing straight ahead, using our heels, the middle of our head, and our palms to lift us up. So on an inhale, lift your hips all the way up. Bring your chin to your chest, but make sure there's a slight space in your chest so that you're still lengthening your spine. Keep your knees pointed straight. Exhale, slowly lower the spine. Inhale, lift your hips all the way up. If you want to shimmy the shoulders behind the back body and interlace your fingertips to open your heart space a little bit more, and then press through the back sides of your hands as they're interlaced, you can open up your heart space a little bit more. And if this is where you are at, interlace your fingers. Inhale your arms up overhead, and exhale, slowly lower your hips back down to the earth. Rock your knees side to side, windshield wiper the legs. And we'll come into happy baby for our last pose. If there's another pose that you need to do that feels good for your body, go for it. But for happy baby, spread your legs out wide, bend your knees, and grab a hold of your feet from the inside or the outside, keeping your whole entire spine on the earth, and trying to keep your tailbone flat on the earth as well. You don't want to lift it up. You want to keep everything down. The more you press your feet into your hands, and the more you press your feet into your hands at the same time, it's going to keep you grounded. And you'll feel it in the inner groin, the hips, the outer hips. If you want to work into the hamstrings, you can bend your right knee and then extend the left one, vice versa. Or you can extend both of them out. But I'm not going to do that today. You can massage the spine, rock side to side. And extend your legs out in front of you to prepare for our final pose, which is Savasana, corpse pose. Our final meditation, which is what we all have been waiting for. Slowing down the breath, closing your eyes, palms facing up for receiving energy, palms facing down for more grounding, more into ourselves. Relax the facial muscles.
Feel every inch of your body get heavy. Release the wrinkles in your forehead, the space in between your eyebrows, softening your eyes, parting the mouth and letting the tongue float in the cavern of your mouth. Lengthening each inhale, flowing it next to your next exhale. And take the next couple of minutes of silence towards yourself to enjoy your meditation as you fully surrender your mind and your body and be here in the present moment. And when we come to an end, I'll lead you out. Savasana. Start to bring movement back into the body. Wiggle toes, wiggle fingers. Rock your head side to side. Roll out the wrists, roll out the ankles. On an inhale, come into a full body stretch, reaching your arms up overhead, stretching through the fingertips and the tips of the toes. And on your exhale, hug your knees tightly into your chest. Come into a tight little ball. You can grab onto either elbows and really lift that shoulder. And then rock over to one side, giving yourself this nice tight squeeze. And come into a comfortable seat. Sitting up tall. Bring your palms together at heart center to feel your heartbeat. And bow in. Taking this moment of silence to give support, light, and love to all the dedications and intentions that we made for our practice to keep ourselves wholesome and in the present moment. Thank you all for letting me guide you through your own yoga journey and allowing me to shed light and connecting your mind and your body and bringing you awareness to what matters the most, which is your values and the goodness of your heart. Namaste. Thank you all for joining me today. I had fun and I can't wait to see you guys next week. And if you have any suggestions or questions, always leave comments and message us and we'll be happy to help. Have a good weekend.